We made it. 2 p.m. live with the Trigger. It's the Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Welcome back again. A little bit of a delay, but thanks for sticking around. I know you're anxious to continue on with our freedom from the fear of public speaking conversation. We've been doing this all month long. The month of July is dedicated to freedom from the fear of public speaking. The number one fear in all the world. 70 million people, they estimate, are afraid of public speaking, and you may be one of them. Maybe you are working through it. Maybe you're still saying, no, don't put a camera, don't put a microphone in front of me. But today we're going to talk about that fear of failure. What's that fear of failure all about? Why are we afraid of failing? Because if you've been in public speaking, if you've watched any TV, any movies, everyone has a bad one or two. Everyone has something that doesn't go quite the way they had planned. Today, we have had major technical difficulties. And Jan, you have not missed us. You are still here. You are faithful. You are hanging in with us. We've had technical difficulties as we've been trying to get rolling here today. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Jeff Koziatek in. He's the founder of Core Authenticity. He's a keynote speaker. He's a peak performance coach, and he's an author. And all around, he's just a great guy because he loves Batman. It's right above his head.
Oh, yeah. I'm Batman. Jeff, man, I'm so excited to be here with you. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about failure, as we've had all these glitches behind the scenes, but we are persevering through it. And probably that's one of the things about failure. You do have to persevere as a public speaker.
Yeah, you do. Man, when I first started speaking and performing, I had the fear of failure that really impacted the way I showed up was my expectations on how the audience was going to receive me. I wanted them to like me. I didn't want to make any mistakes. And oftentimes I was hired to deliver a message or make the audience laugh. And so I picked up full responsibility for how the audience would receive my stuff. That was hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and it sounds like for you, because it started internally for you, it was no outward pressure. It looks like, or sounds like it came from you.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it started in entertainment. So I was hired to make people laugh and feel good and have a great time. That's why I was there, right? And then in keynote speaking, I'm hired to deliver a message, to connect with the audience in such a way that they can take my message and then immediately apply it. That's why we're hired, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But can I actually control whether the audience has a good time? Can I control their feelings? Can I control whether or not they put into action what I'm talking about?
No.
No.
But it's interesting because we're coached and trained as speakers to land the speech with a call to action. And we're supposed to do it clearly, sharply, with the hopes of the call to action will work. But we really have no control after that.
No, I think it's pretty crazy. We're hired to essentially to manipulate the audience into something that gets a response that our client wants. And we are not able to do that because they're human beings. They're not objects to be manipulated, right? So the only thing that we can do as a keynote speaker or as a performer is to show up and make an offer. That's something that we can control. But if we try to pick up responsibility for things that are outside of our control, like what the audience does or doesn't do, I think that's when our fear and our anxiety seriously ramp up. And then that can get in the way and cause big issues.
Now, some of the fear of failure also is we all have different emotional gauges of success. One of them is that standing ovation means we hit a home run. What happens if you don't get the standing ovation?
What happens indeed? Is that a rhetorical question? Or
no, feel free to participate here, Jeff.
All right, that's why we're doing this. I think that comes back to our expectations, right? I think we have to clarify what our expectations are for success. And again, if we're putting our expectations for a successful keynote on what is in somebody else's control on how they respond to us, I think that's what sets us up for failure. So we have to adjust. I have to adjust my expectations and say, okay, what can I control? Did I plan? Did I prepare? Did I make sure that I was delivering what is asked of me to the best of my abilities? Did I make it clear and concise, like what you were talking about? These are all metrics I can use to gauge success. If I start looking at what other people are in control of, then I'm never going to feel successful. I'm going to feel like a failure. I'm going to feel inadequate. I'm going to feel incapable, and then the fear of speaking and doing it again is just going to ramp up, and then I won't.
Well,
You're good.
and Dave is dropping in the chat. Dave, thanks for joining us here today. He's talking about that stress. It builds, it grows. And then
Yeah.
the failure is the fear of, I've been booked again. I have to go do this again. And then you almost expect to fail before you even turn on the microphone, right?
Right. Right. I mean, it sounds so simple, but for me, the way that I overcome that fear is to adjust my expectations into something that I can control,
Yeah.
and and I recognize that what I'm there to share with the audience is just an offer. It's just an offer. I can only pick up responsibility for me, not for somebody else. And a big part of what I do as a coach is help people shift from their performance to seeing themselves as the performer. We shift that identity. We shift that significance or the worth. So many people look at what they do as who they are. So if they
Right.
make a mistake or if it goes really great, like that's all on them. But to be able to see that what we do comes from who we are, but doesn't define who we are, frees us up to make the mistakes, frees us up to learn and keep moving forward.
Well, and Jan's got a comment here, which I kind of agree with, is that this whole idea that sometimes the applause doesn't come when you think it's going to come. I've
Yeah.
got standing jokes, gaffes. I have stories I know normally will get it. There's other times
You?
in my
You
talks.
have
Yeah.
stories and jokes? I'm shocked.
Two bald guys walk into a room with goatees. No.
One with a laptop, one with a studio.
So sometimes I'm expecting, almost planning for it. When it doesn't happen, what I've learned on that reflection is sometimes they're really soaking in the stuff before the joke. They're still
Yeah.
chewing on other things. So it's not failure. It's just them being in the moment so intensely, they miss my joke. And that's a
Right.
different way of gauging this, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and the same thing, like I'll go deep really, really fast. And sometimes it takes the audience a minute to think about what I just shared. Like,
Yes.
oh, okay, and they're processing that. And so I've got to remember to slow down and give them that time to think through things because this is the pool I swim in all the time, but this might be a new concept to several of my audience members.
And that's exactly what I've had to learn is some of the things that I think I know that I assume they already know. We jump in assuming
Right.
they're already at a certain place with us. More and
Yeah.
more, I have to go, okay, I need to step back to bring him to the place to get him to where I want to get to. And the failure is I haven't done the ramp up time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And again, that's expectations, right?
Yeah.
We're putting expectations and assumptions on the audience, and we're picking up responsibility for stuff that was never ours to carry in the first place.
Now, one of the other areas of failure is you get done, whoever booked you, the booking agent, the host event sometimes will come and go, it's not quite what we expected, Trigger. There's a failure on the pre-planning expectations that adds to the failure once you step on stage because you're
Yeah.
locked and loaded, you're ready to go. And if you don't have that planning really locked in clearly, you step on the wrong assumption of what they wanted you to do. And then it's a big failure for everybody.
Right. Well, I think you hit it right on the head there with the clarity bit. I mean, getting really specific and clear about what our role is to keynote. You know, what kind of actions are they looking to see as a result of us bringing there? What results are they looking for? What situations or problems are they dealing with that they want us to speak to? Getting really clear about that ahead of time makes all the difference. And if we're not clear, if we're not specific, then that generality leads to a lot of miscommunication, misunderstanding, and we end up solving a problem that's nowhere on their radar.
We got Aaron chiming in there about trying to figure out people we are worrying about, not worrying about what we're worrying about. It gets to be a big circle, doesn't it, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, and man, like, okay, I'm gonna get up on my soapbox because
Yeah,
that's
go
why
for
we're
it.
here. like my whole career as a keynote speaker and coach is really built on the cornerstone of worth. People use the word identity or significance. I use the word worth. What defines you? Where does your worth come from? And in my experience, people either look for it internally or externally. When we're looking for it externally, we either look for it in our performance, our property, our appearance, our circumstances, our relationships. Those are the big five. And one of those is performance. And when we tie our worth and significance into what we do, our performance on stage, then we can't make mistakes. And if we can't make mistakes, if we can't try new things and risk that, then the anxiety goes up. Ain't nobody want to do that. You
No,
know, go ahead.
no, no, no. I'm totally tracking. You're absolutely right. No one wants to go through the very thing you're describing, but you're right. We're expecting the pat on the back. We're expecting that emotional high.
Great.
There's a
Great.
lot of things that we expect instead of, like you described early on, just going and do it.
And what was really interesting is early in my career, I thought I had to do a perfect juggling show. I used to do comedy juggling shows and still walking and fire performing and stuff like that. And I always was aiming for the perfect show, right? Because that's why you're paying me. But what I realized is that when I made a mistake publicly on stage, it almost seemed to bring the audience in closer because they're like, oh my gosh, not only is he human, but he just made a mistake publicly and everybody saw it. How is he going to recover from that? And
Yes.
then to be able to recover from the mistake or work it into the show and keep rolling, I think brought hope to the audience. Like, hey, we can all do this, and it seemed to make those shows that much more impactful. And I connect with the audience more when I wasn't trying to hide the mistake, but I just like, yeah, mistakes happen.
So it
You
goes to
know,
that authenticity that is one of the powerful tools that we have as speakers. The more authentic we are with our audience, the more they do come to our site. We can pull them in that magical moment. And if we do
yeah,
blow it on stage, the best thing you can do is acknowledge it in some way, but move on. Show the
yeah.
confidence, admit it. Hey, I blew it. That prop didn't work. They wanted to. I caught on fire when my fire stick actually hit my pants. Sorry about
I
that.
don't, I don't, I don't talk about that. I don't talk about that.
But there is something about the vulnerability, the authentic nature of, because they want you to succeed so badly very often in the audience. When you do break from that, they're actually like, oh, he's just like me. And it's
Yeah,
actually a
yeah,
relief.
yeah. It's total relief, not only for them, but it's a relief for us on stage because, like, oh my gosh, I don't have to be perfect. I can just be me, and we can have a good time. It reminds me of a conversation I had with a magician friend of mine named Bruce Divig, way back, like maybe 20-ish years ago, and he said that it's not about being the best juggler, the best magician, or the best keynoter. It's about showing up to give and receive with the audience. That's it. Like we're there to connect with whoever's in the audience and give to them what we've got and receive to them from them what they have to share. And that's it. And I feel like when we can keep that in check, we're there to give and receive. It's not about being perfect. It's not about being the best. Oh my gosh, the freedom that comes from that
Yes.
to like authentically engage with the audience is goes off the charts.
What would be some tips you would give with someone that's struggling with this fear of failure? Because we are our own worst critics. No matter what the testimonial card says and one of the post evaluation says, we will go home. At least I go home and replay the speech in my head. I can't get it out. And it's like, oh, I missed it there. I could have done better there. What are some helpful tips to help people get out of that failure routine that I talk about?
Man, so I just did an interview yesterday on video, so it's recorded, and people will get to watch it forever. And I'm looking back on that and going, man, I probably shouldn't have shared that bit. That bit right there, we could have kept that out. Thank goodness that was recorded for posterity. So for me, I have to pay once. I wrote a book called Blueprint for Value, and Habit 45 is pay once. It's about acknowledging what happened, owning our part, taking responsibility for that, accepting the consequences, reconciling where we can, and then moving forward together. So For me, it's you pay for the mistake once, following that model, and you move forward. The other thing is, like we've been talking about this whole time, expectations. Clarifying what expectations are in our control, and getting really specific and focused on those, and letting go of the expectations that are not. Getting really clear and specific about what our role is and what the intended outcome is and what we're speaking to. And a really big thing for me is recognizing that I am the performer, not my performance. That what I do comes from me, but does not define me. So if it's success, great. If it's a failure, great. I think it was in Seth Godin's book, The Icarus Deception. Like if I'm putting art out there, or in this case, if I'm delivering a keynote, and it's really important to you, and it works, fantastic. If it's important to you and it doesn't work, I can come back and do a new keynote tomorrow. I create a new piece of art tomorrow. Try
Yes.
something else because I'm more than what I'm creating.
That's a great point because part of, I think, overcoming the failure is nobody died during my live presentation. And that's why I like live so much.
Not that
I
we're
love
aware of.
live. I love live because no one's going to die today. Now, I may self feel it, others may tell me it, but no one really died today. So you're right. You can go back out and recraft it, recreate it. And
Mhm.
here's a fresh new opportunity to go and do it again. When you understand, it really does lift the weight off. Now I'm free to do anything, Jeff. I'm
Yeah.
free to take any risk, any step, try it new and different, and go do it differently again tomorrow if I need to.
Right? I mean, because mistakes are going to happen, and if the fear of public speaking comes from I want to do it perfect, I don't want to make any mistakes. I mean, like you may make mistakes all the time. I've delivered more than 5,000 presentations, and I'm still making mistakes. Like if you're human, it's going to happen. So it's not so much about that as it is about what you do after. And I think the only way that we're able to make that change and recover from a mistake is to recognize that, or well, to see the mistake for what it is, not who we are.
And I think you need to embrace the idea is failure is learning. It's not failure the way the negative voice tells us. Failure is an
Yeah.
opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to go back in because, as you just said, I've been doing this for 30 plus years. I'm always reevaluating. I'm always re-editing and trying it slightly
Right.
different because it is a living, breathing form in some ways. The art of public
Yeah.
speaking is a living entity that you never really know what's going to happen every time you step out there.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, just when you got it figured out with one person, then you step in front of somebody else and you got to figure it out again. I mean, because of that, because our audiences are always changing, even if we're delivering the same keynote, that delivery will always change because we're always adapting to whoever's in the crowd. If the goal is to share ideas and understand.
And I think Nancy's hitting somebody on the head again. You and I are both creators. There is a creative nature within us that we will go create again. So there
Yes.
is part of that trial and error that I think a lot of public speakers, media people, we understand there's a trial and error in this. So we don't see
Right.
failure the way some people might see failure.
You don't think so?
I don't think so because I mean, yes, especially in the early days. Oh my gosh, those early days were painful. But the more I got into it, the more I got into the creative mode, the more I began to realize I can create anything I want,
Yeah. Yeah.
paint that picture, tell that story. And then it's really not a failure. It's more of learning the best way to put it all together. And I think that's
Right.
part of the reframing that you talk about. You do a lot of reframing. I think it's part of reframing the narrative, right?
It's all about reframe all about reframing. It is. And I think along with that reframing comes the reality of being aware of the variables that are at play in any kind of a speaking event or any kind of a communication event, whether we're emailing or texting or talking on the phone or over Zoom or in person. There are three big variables at play. There's you, and there's me, and then there's the environment through which we're creating or communicating, right?
That's
And I don't know what's going on with you. So, if we're looking at successful communication or successful keynoting on a scale of 0 to 100%, how much percent, how much control do I actually have over the transfer of my keynote information. Is it 0? Is it 100? You know, we look at those three variables and we say, okay, well, I'm not in control of you at all. I'm immediately down to like 66%. You know, and then if we look at the environment through which we're communicating, like today, for some reason, my computer, my lighting, and everything else didn't work. And so we had to switch to something else. I wasn't in control of that. So now I'm down to 33%, right? Or if we're on a stage and maybe the microphone goes out or the lights go out or they don't switch to our PowerPoint or the
Your
introduction is
PowerPoint's out of
off,
order, which has
or
happened, right?
right. So I mean we lose a lot of control there. And then we're just left with 33%. Am I fully in control of how I'm showing up? Like, well, if I've got a lot of stuff going on emotionally that day, or if I'm facing some kind of a physical or medical illness, or you know, I walk by cat vomit, now I'm in a bad mood. Or I look out and I see somebody that reminds me of an ex or somebody I don't
Mhm.
like all of that can shift my emotional state. And then the next thing you know, I'm not showing up 100%. So with all of those variables at play, and Rich, the 6 degrees of communication. I love this. What what you want to hear as the audience, what you actually hear, what you thought you heard, what I wanted to say, what I actually said, and what I thought I said. Given that telephone game just between two people
Yes.
and all those other variables, we have to get really specific about setting clear expectations that are in our control as much as possible and letting go of responsibility for everything else so that we can show up and deliver a performance that comes from who we are but doesn't define us.
I think that's a big, big point as we kind of land the plane here on this fear of failure is let go of some of that. Every
Yeah.
performance is a new performance. It is like
Yes.
the Broadway stage performance. They do the same play, but every actor will tell you it's not the same play every night
No.
because it's a different performance with a different little tweak in the character and the sound. And they could have one review one night be raving, and the next night it's the most horrific live theater performance, and they'll go out and do it on day 3, different again. That's
Right.
part of the fun of this.
Is it fun, Rich?
Jeff Koziatek, and Jeff, we have your website right here, by the way.
Wait, what?
We have your website right there, right
Oh,
next to you.
I know that guy.
What are they going to find when they go to your website? What are they going to find and learn more about this amazing, smart, bald guy?
Hair care tips, shampoos. If they go to coreauthenticity.com, they'll find information about my speaking, about my coaching. I coach individuals. I also coach culture and organizations. They'll find information about my workshops. They can listen to my podcast, the Breakthrough Moments podcast. They can find my book, The Blueprint for Value 52 Habits to Discover and Strengthen Your Personal Worth, available as a paperback and ebook. They can also see the More Moments video series. They'll get a chance to join the Mindset Motivation Club. Keep your mindset motivated. It's free. That comes out weekly. And then they'll find out about my new book coming up next year called Compassion. And more.
One thing I love about Jeff is he is always bigger, bigger, bigger. And it's been great, Jeff.
Well, you
Thanks.
know, if you're going to do something, Rich, have fun. And speaking is fun. And even when we're speaking on coreauthenticity.com.
What's the website
Thanks,
again? As I
Nancy.
bring it back up, they want to know what's the website. So grab your phone, hit the QR code right there. But what's the actual name of the website again, Jeff?
Coreauthenticity.com. Because you got to be authentic from your core.
Jeff Koziatek, we could do this all day long. Thank you, my friend, for dropping on in and for bearing with all the technical glitches today. Home run, great job.
Thank you, Rich. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody that hung with us for those 5 minutes. I had a great time. Hopefully, this was of value to all of you.
Jeff Koziatek dropping in today on 2 p.m. live. We'll be back again tomorrow. And by the way, we are going to have another special edition of Freedom from the Fear of Public Speaking. We were just going to do Tuesday and Thursday, but because everyone's been so excited and there's been such amazing feedback, we are going to add in a Wednesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week is going to wind down Freedom from the Fear of Public Speaking. And again, as always, if you would like to connect, learn more about what we do at Rock the Stage Meetup, on how we can help you shine on camera, shine on stage, how we can help you build the media empire that you want, whether it's podcasting, authorship, streaming content. We actually help you develop and build your brand through the power of media. Hit that QR code, set up a call. We'll do a one-to-one consultation, and we're going to help you build that brand the way that you would like to. Until tomorrow at 2 p.m. on The Trigger, Rich Bontrager. Keep rocking your day, and we'll see you back here at 2 p.m. Eastern Time live.